Hi, this is Brian Friedman, and welcome to Benivo Bites, the world's first mobility tech show. And we've got an amazing edition for you today, because I'm delighted to say that we are going to be launching the Benivo assignment management system. More on that in a moment, but I think you know the way it works. It's so good to see everybody. Please join in the conversation, write in the comments box. We want to know who's out there, where you are in the world. Just tell us a little bit about yourself, the company you're from, where you are. Say hi, meet your friends and colleagues from around the world live on air. So really keen to, as I said, to have that conversation with you. And we're going to be talking about Benivo assignment management today. We've got our regular immigration update as well, more of that later, but we're going to be talking about, I call it BAM. Sounds good, doesn't it? Benivo assignment management system. And what's so special about this? Well, if you think about it, you know, there's two real ways that you can do the, if like the back end, the assignment management of your program. You can either do it on spreadsheets, or you can buy a system. The systems tend to be honest, they take a lot of time to implement, and you're not really in control of the data. What about a system where you are in control of the data? What about a system that can be implemented really quickly? I mean, days, not months. What about a system where there's no cost? There's no cost for the implementation. There's no cost for the APIs. What about a system where you can use the data for predictive analytics to really get that seat at the table, so you can actually go out and say, this is what we've learned about our population, and this is what we predict, and this is how we can manage either experience or whatever about manage costs, manage risk of failure, etc. We're going to show you some pretty funky stuff, both today, and in fact we're going to do a part 2 to this, because there's so much to show you in a couple of weeks' time on the next Benivo Bites. So it's really exciting stuff. I won't spend too long talking about it now, because I've got Nitzan Yudan, who's going to come on stage shortly, who's going to tell you all about it. We've got Michelle Durkin, who's going to come on stage and tell you all about it from the corporate experience, drawing on her experience as a global mobility director. In terms of other news, next week, of course, is the 24th of February, and we're going to be back with The View from the Top. And I'm delighted to say our guest on The View from the Top next week is Chris Blair, who is a global mobility manager at Aviva, one of the largest insurance giants in the world. Now, Chris has had an interesting route into global mobility. People come from various ways into mobility. Chris is the only person I think I've ever met who's come into global mobility via the Salvation Army. And he's going to be talking a bit about his journey and some of the exciting stuff that is going on in his world. Anyway, that's more about that in a moment. But the other thing actually that's really exciting is that also on the 24th of February, we're also going to be launching or relaunching the top 100 service providers. So let me just tell you a little bit about that. Let's just put up a little video for that. So as you all know, we did the top 100 global mobility managers, the corporates, the in-house people, the back end of last year. And we always said that we're going to do the top 100 service providers. And that's what we're going live with. So nominations open on the 24th of February. Remember, it's individuals. You're not nominating an organization or a company. You're nominating a person. And that person can be any service provider. They can be immigration, they can be tax, they can be relo, they can be DSP, they can be technology, they can be academia, they can be spousal support, any service provider, corporate housing, anywhere in the world. So have a think about it. You're able to nominate up to 10 people. And as I said, the nominations open next Wednesday on the 24th. The other thing that I just wanted to say, which is very exciting, is that we are growing the Benivo Strategy Council. And if you are an experienced global mobility professional and would be interested in joining our Strategy Council, I would emphasize this is a paid role. So if you're of interest, there is an advert on LinkedIn, or simply send a message through to either Nitzan Yudan or me, and we'll have a look at it, and hopefully we can bring people onto our Strategy Council. We are particularly interested in people who are US based. So if you're based in the US, you've got lots of experience of mobility and you think you'd be a good member for our Strategy Council, then do come on board and tell us a little bit about yourself. Before I bring Julia on, I'll just say a little bit about Benivo. For those of you who do not know Benivo, what we try and do is we try and pull together three things: an Amazon-style user experience for the assignees, or anybody who's moving, the transferees, an amazing fintech solution to provide finance within minutes, in some cases instantaneously, to people anywhere in the world, whether that's for expense management, lump sum management, or simply for rental deposits. And also an end-to-end mobility management system. And that's what we're going to be focusing in on today. We're going to be focusing in on the end-to-end mobility management system, Benivo assignment management system. And I promise you, you are going to say, this is just awesome. You're going to love it. But before we get on to that, we always try and do a little update on what's going on in the world of immigration. And we're always honored to have with us the one and only Julia Onslow Cole to tell us a little bit about what's going on in the wonderful world of immigration. So without further ado, what I do want to do is bring on Julia. Julia, how are you doing?
Hi, really well, thanks.
Good. I see your sojourn in Dubai is continuing.
Yes, definitely. Yeah.
Okay. How long do you think you're going to be there?
Maybe another month and a half or something.
Oh, wow. Wow. Exciting times. Okay, Julia. So what are you going to talk to us about today?
So I'm going to talk about how countries are really trying to attract people like Nitzan, really, sort of tech entrepreneurs. And it's quite an interesting phenomena, because what we're seeing at the moment around the world is a number of countries are really tightening up, particularly around access to resident labour markets, and which have obviously been very impacted by the economic fallout of the pandemic. But on the other hand, although they're tightening up, all countries want to attract tech entrepreneurs. And there's really such a race around the world to attract them. And it's the thing about the existing immigration rules around the world is they're really not fit for purpose, because most of the rules, you have to have a degree in the subject in which you're getting your visa. And many tech entrepreneurs just don't have a conventional education. And I was talking about this to Mark Buchanan, who's my partner in Singapore. And I said to him, I had a very dear friend, and her son, when he was about 16, he spent all his time in the bedroom, sort of on his computer, and the parents were really despairing, and he wasn't going to school. And it turned out that he was developing an app, which was one of the very first Apple apps. I think it was the Torch app. And he made, for a couple of years, he made more money per month than his father made in the whole year. And he left school then and never went back, and is now incredibly successful. So I think these new tech visas, they're really catering for the fact that, you don't have to have a computer science degree or anything. And Singapore has launched this tech visa. It's called the Tech Pass. And they launched it last year, but it's only been enforced since January. So we're only just sort of seeing the first applications. And what Singapore is saying is that it took 20 years for Silicon Valley to become Silicon Valley from being just the Bay Area of San Francisco. And what they want to do in Singapore is really kind of attract that talent. And what you have to do to qualify for a tech pass is that for the last year, you must have been earning $20,000 a month for the last 12 months, and then have 5 years experience in a tech company of a certain size, and also be leading some development. And it's got very it's got very strict parameters around it. But it's caused a lot of interest, and they've already got a couple of really big names. And there's 500 of these tech passes. And the great thing about them is that, again, they're really catered to the type of people that are tech entrepreneurs, and they allow them to do really anything that they like. They can set up a company, they can work for a company, but they can also lecture and do other things. So very quickly, there's also a tech visa in Israel, which is attracting a lot of attention. So that's suitable for visa exempt nationals who are working at an Israeli registered high-tech company. The UK also has a tech visa under the global talent route. Again, you don't need a degree. You just need endorsement of a relevant body, which is, to be honest, actually quite tricky, but still it's a good start. And then Australia don't have exactly a tech visa, but they had in 2019, they have a global talent program and with industry growth sectors. And this is one of them. And also, if you're a software engineer or you're developing a program and it's anything related to COVID as well, that will give you priority to get into Australia right away. So I just think it's really quite an interesting development.
Okay, so there's a lot going on, and obviously there's going to be a lot more of this developing. I mean, Julia, it's fascinating. It's always fascinating. I think, it's very timely as well to be talking about tech visas as we launch a tech platform. So thank you very much for tailoring your content to the to what's going on today. But we are going to have to say goodbye to you. We'll bring you back on stage later. But what we want to do now, I know everybody's really, really interested to learn about the Benivo assignment management system. So what I'm going to do now is bring on my colleague and good friend Nitzan Yudan, and we're going to be talking about Benivo assignment management. Then I'm going to be talking with my other colleague, Michelle Durkin, who's also the corporate world and talking from a corporate perspective. And then, of course, we're going to be going into some demos. So without further ado, let's move on to the tech side of today's show. Nitzan, great to see you, and I'm so excited, okay, because I know this has been a long time being developed, and it's not often that we come out and say here's something that's really groundbreaking, and and it's so good for our community to be able to have an assignment management platform that can be put in easily and which can provide all this extra information. But I mean, the obvious question is why? I mean, why did you put the resource into it and decide to build an assignment management platform in the first place? Tell us a little bit about its genesis.
Yeah, so it really all started from the need. So we have companies who we work with, the corporates who we work with, they kept telling us, hey, we love the Benivo platform for employees, we love the agility, we love the user experience, but can you also do vendor initiation? Can you also help us manage records, payroll reporting? And every time we got a small request and we said, yes, we will do it. And we said another one and another one. And every time when we roll out a new feature, we roll it out to all our clients, so everyone benefits from that. And we started to see more and more usage. And at some stage, we just said, okay, let's take a step back and understand what actually are we doing here. And at that stage, we really went to talk more to the corporate and ask them, what have you done before? And normally we were getting the answer that we either didn't do much of that data or we used spreadsheets. Now, don't get me wrong, I love spreadsheets.
You might. I hate spreadsheets.
No, I am a big spreadsheets are my passion, but they are not the most efficient way, especially not to manage data and not to be able to leverage that. And during last year, during the pandemic, one thing became clear to us: global mobility professionals are busier than ever. Everyone thought that because volume of moves went down, people were less busy, but actually they're busier than ever, and that means that there is more workload, and that requires more efficiency. And that's why
even busier as we get back after, there's going to be a real bounce back coming up shortly. I'm very optimistic for 21. There's going to be a big bounce back as all those held back moves start coming back. So so people are busy.
Yeah, and we, it's unlikely we'll get more resources. So we need to become more efficient. And that's where we need to better use technology to achieve that. And that's why we decided to invest even more and wrap up a lot of what we've done in the past to a very big feature release, which is now the management platform. And very proud to introduce that today with the core concept about it. It's about how do we unlock the value of data. Because one thing became very dominant the more we talked with corporate was that there is not enough use of big data, of predictive analytics, of the ability to reduce data duplication and data validation and the need to check more and more of the data. And we wanted to change that. And we wanted to introduce something that will cover all the basics, right? From vendor initiations to record keeping, to payroll reporting, to cost estimations. But on top of that, create more power to make mobility leaders more efficient and more effective.
Absolutely. Okay. So, and this is something that can be done without any additional cost.
Yes. So the model we like to work with the Benivo is adding more value at the same price. So similar, when we buy an Office, Microsoft Office, and we use we wanted only the spreadsheet, the Excel, we also get the PowerPoint. That's the model we took here. So as part of the standard Benivo license, it also includes the management platform, which means that there is no need to request additional budget. There is no need for an implementation fee. We don't charge any implementation fees, any API fees, any other fees, and it's all included in the same license that can be used only for the digital destination or the payment solutions, the fintech solutions that we looked at previous shows. And
so let's emphasize this for the purpose of the audience. So what you're saying is that unlike maybe sort of traditional standalone software systems, this can be implemented with no implementation fees, no API fees, no hidden fees. And I put there, zilch, nada, niente, nothing. Is that, I'm going to hold you to this, Nitzan. Is that what you're saying?
100%.
Okay, well, you heard it first here, guys. Okay, and what about speed to implement? Because I know that sometimes with a software system, it can take 6 to 12 months to implement.
Yeah, so one of the things we enjoy most in Benivo is getting things done and getting things done fast. And that's also how we build our solutions, that they can be implemented in days, that we can go live very, very fast. Sometimes we will need obviously more time to some of the third-party APIs, but we have solutions that allow us to go live immediately and add those APIs as we grow. So we are introducing here a management platform that can be introduced, that can go live and implemented within days.
Okay, and I think you sort of hinted on this, but I just want to go back to it. You said we can unlock the power of big data. just tell me a bit about that and the sort of big data that you mean. I know we're going to be going into a demo, but just give us a sort of an idea of what you mean by big data here. Because it's a big...
So the use of big data, we see that in two areas. We see it about helping mobility leaders be more efficient and be more effective. What do I mean by that? Efficient is how do I eliminate some of the manual work? So I don't need to collect information from different providers. All of that is available for me. I don't need to run reports. They all run for me. All the data is live. So I can become much more proactive rather than reactive. I don't need to check information. The platform does the check for me and then notify me with alerts when things are not going as planned, and I only handle those cases. And that's how we grow the impact we make also in the organization, because we can use predictive analytics, and we'll see some examples today, how we can use the power of data to forecast cost, to forecast how long it's gonna take us to get someone into a job and to pass immigration, etc. So.
Okay, I mean, I'm really excited to see that. Before we do, actually, let me just bring Michelle into the conversation. So where are we? Michelle, how are you doing, Michelle?
Hey, Brian. Hi, Nitzan.
It's on screen. It's great to see you.
Good to see you guys. Happy to be back.
Okay, well, Michelle, I know that you're looking very tanned. Have you been away somewhere?
I did. Thank you for noticing. I escaped to Florida for a week.
Oh, lovely. So, Michelle, I mean, obviously, you've been on the show before with your sort of Benivo hat on, but we've got you on here today with, if you like, some of your former hats. So tell us a bit about your corporate career and you know, the sort of programs you managed in the past.
Sure. So 25 years in the industry, 15 of them on the corporate side and 10 years on the service provider side. And so I've worked with many different platforms, many different technologies, many ways of managing assignment programs. And, you know, there are things that stand out as really good, and then there are things that stand out as not so good. And, you know, for me, transitioning from that corporate role and now being involved with Benivo, the Benivo platform just sort of opened my eyes. And I remember saying to Nitzan, I was like, I wish I knew about Benivo, you know, back when I was in a corporate role. And yet somebody had been knocking on my door, and I'm not sure that I answered the call. So shame on me.
Ain't that always the way? But I mean, Michelle, I mean, you know, you were there running, you know, fairly substantial programs, and you must have had some frustrations. I know in your past you've used various systems, including obviously spreadsheets and other systems, and we won't go there. But you know, chatting earlier, you said one of your concerns was about actually the lack of control of your data. I mean, tell us a bit about what that meant. You know, with your, because you've been involved in designing this. So what was it you didn't get and that you wanted in terms of control of data?
I think. Yeah, part of my frustration when I was in the corporate world was the lack of access and ownership of the data. I was relying on others, service providers, RMCs, tax providers, to manage my data and report the data back to me. And so we would have standardized reports, but sometimes and often you would get a request from senior leadership asking for information that wasn't necessarily part of a standard report. So then to go to the service providers, and it might be multiple service providers, to then pull those pieces of information together, it was cumbersome. I mean, it's time consuming because you've got, you know, it could be comp information coming from one place, assignment data coming from another, could be immigration coming from another. And then it generally was up to the mobility team to put that information into one report and provide it back to leadership. And
the beauty of this system is, and I think Nitzan, you'll talk about this later, is you can pull system, integrates all the service providers and pulls information out, and you can get the reports wherever you want. So if you happen to be sitting on the beach in Florida, for example, you can just pull it out there and then without having to, and it's like it's 11 o'clock at night, you can do it there and then. You don't have to go to somebody and say, run me a report, please.
And you hit on a great point. I mean, right, not everybody is working. There's not somebody available 24/7 to put in that request for that information. And I think I'll take it one step further. There is nothing more embarrassing than providing a report to senior leadership that has a mistake on it, that somebody is repatriated already or they're in a new job. So it's also the validation of the information was sometimes scary.
Okay, and I think maybe it's sort of a related point, but I think you also mentioned to me that that traditionally there was a lot of manual work involved in collecting the information.
Yeah, sure. Depending on the organization, there could have been manual work. Manual work, as I said, collecting from various data sources, and then the manual work of reviewing, scrubbing, checking the data. It's time consuming. It's very time consuming. And, we talk about mobility managers being busier than ever. This is just something that can really, there's a solution. I can't wait for Nitzan to show it, to make mobility easier, to make mobility easier, is I think probably a number one goal for a lot of mobility managers out there.
Okay, and actually, I'll just take a question, Nitzan. I mean, we'll just go back to Michelle in a moment, but a question here: can this software integrate with Workday? Maybe just talk a little bit about integrations.
Yes, I love this. I'm going to use this phrase from you, Michelle. Make mobility easier. So, is integrating to Workday going to make mobility easier? Obviously, yes. So the answer is yes. Everything that will make mobility easier is that what we want to deliver here, and we can integrate to Workday as well as any other HRIS, any vendor party, any other provider.
Okay, so just that sort of deals with that question. Integrations are easy, and they're there. Michelle, just coming back to you, I know one of the other things when we were chatting earlier, you said that one of your concerns was that sometimes standard mobility systems are pretty reactive and you wanted something that could be more proactive. Just tell us a little bit more about what you're thinking there.
Yeah, sure. I think it's around the reporting and going back to those standard reports. My experience has been at the beginning of a relationship with a service provider, you agree on things that will be reported upon, and that's just kind of set in stone until something comes up and I need data. I need different data. I need it shown in a different way. A new leader comes along and wants to see it in a different format, a new dashboard. They don't, you become reactive to these business requests. And so if we were able to get to a place where I can easily, or any mobility manager can easily manipulate, have pretty charts and graphs and visually pleasing data, would be a huge success. I was taught early in my career, lead with data. I mean, leading with data, coming to a meeting with data was just so important. So many times we've talked about, you and I, and on the show, we've talked about how do you make mobility more strategic? And it's really coming to the table with data. And it's good data, it's clean data, it's relevant data. So I think if any mobility person, is trying to figure out how to make themselves strategic, it's leading with data.
And I know one of the things you said is that, and we're going to get onto the demo in just a few seconds, but one is you like the fact that you could just generate your own self-service live reports, which you can't typically do. You can just pull them out yourself.
Yeah, well, I think, depending on the platform, sure, you can pull live reports if they are agreed upon. That's been my experience, kind of those set data points being able to be generated at the click of a button. But what happens when you don't have that set data, those set demographics or data points that you want to then report on? I think it's, for Benivo, having that ability to say, okay, well, I used to want A, B, C, and D on that report. Now I want A, L, F, and X, and being able to go into the system and pull that, at a moment's notice.
I think people are really excited to see the demo. Just seeing this comment here from my good friend Susan Ginsberg saying, looking forward to the demo. This will help global mobility have more time to focus on strategy development and implementation, the human side of mobility and talent management. And I can see a ton of questions coming in, but I won't take some of the questions for the moment. I think what I'll do at this stage is maybe let's just go straight into the demo, because some of these questions will, I'm sure, be answered as we go through. So, so Nitzan, I can see I've got your screen up here. Do you want me to put your screen on screen here so people can see it, and we'll start the demo?
Yes, let's start.
Okay, let's do it. Let's give a round of applause, everybody. Let's see some applause icon and thumbs up and all that sort of love coming out for this. This is pretty radical, exciting stuff. So anyway, let's get going with that demo. Okay, so Nitzan, what are we looking at now?
All right, so we're going to start looking at the platform. The platform is branded. This one is Stark Industries as our demo platform, but obviously for each implementation and each corporate it's branded as the corporate. It's highly customizable. I'm going to mention that a few times when I'm going to show things, but every report, every word, every data can be and easily adjusted, and that's, again, as I said, done in days.
What I'm going to do, Nitzan, is I'm just going to, you're still going to be there, but I'm going to make the screen larger so that it's easier for people to actually see the demo. So we're going to be talking behind, and I'll rotate. Okay, so we're all behind the screen. So tell us a bit more, Nitzan, then as we go through.
Sounds good, and we'll start. There are a number. There is a lot to cover. I'm not going to have enough time to cover everything today. So we are going to have another show in 2 weeks where we're going to show more views. Today, we're going to focus on the view from the Global Mobility Manager. There are, in addition, views for the HRBP or the business. There are platforms dedicated for the vendors, where the vendors can go update information, upload invoices, access information safely. There are, of course, platforms to the employees, which we've shown many times, and we'll show some of the new things that we've added to this platform, and even the platform for the partner, the spouse. So all these platforms are integrated, coming together to deliver that powerful data tool. And we are focusing, as I said today, on the mobility, the global mobility view. We are going to start with some of the basics, and then we're going to see how we're going to deliver on more of that. So what are the basics of around assignment management, around record keeping? And here I can see all my people, I can filter, I can search, I can find the information. And if I want to initiate another person, I can either do a group initiation where there are through a CSV upload, or I can do a one-by-one, which I'll do now, initiating one person. For the question we had before, that was about integration to HRIS, or Workday, or PeopleSoft, etc. Then when that integration is in place, the fields here will be pre-populated. I'm now going to enter some of them manually, just as it's a demo platform. And I'm going to enter some of the employees' basic information. So which workplace are they going to move to? What is their host country? Which policy they belong to? Etc. And the information is customized. As I said, every corporate can define which fields they want to have here, which fields they don't want, what needs to be mandatory, etc. Next, I can enter more information such as the key dates, arrival date, work start date, etc. And finally, I can review everything. And if I see everything is right, that's it. I'm done. I've added another person, and now I can go into the next step of initiating vendors, if I want, for that employee. Now, I'm going to cover some of that, how it works here. The idea behind it is reduced data duplication. So how can I make sure that we provide all the vendors the same information in one go, so we will never ask anyone to provide the same information again, whether it's the employee or the mobility manager or the HRBP. We really want to reduce that. It improves the experience, it saves time, and also improve the quality of the data I can decide which.
So this is, sorry to interrupt, this is what we call automagic functionality, that once a piece of data is entered once, it's entered everywhere. So whether your provider is your immigration provider, your tax provider, if you've got an RMC, anywhere else, once it's in the system, it flies out to everybody. So bringing Julia into the conversation, Julia, obviously, you're sitting there with an immigration firm. Presumably that would be pretty useful to you to have all that information coming through directly into your system.
Yeah, no, that would be really incredible. And I mean, there are so many documents like passports that, the tax provider, the immigration provider would need. So, just to make sure that, the assignees only providing it once gives a really good assignee experience.
Absolutely. And I'll add to that. When I was at Honeywell, I did my Greenbelt project on data redundancy, focusing on just this, looking at the number of times employees are asked to provide the same information over and over and over again. And it was such a pain point for that experience, and really trying to streamline, disseminating that information from one platform to everybody else involved in the process is a big deal.
Okay. So Nitzan, I'm handing the baton back to you there.
And thank you. And now when I've selected before, right, the population of that employee, so that's pre-populate for me already. What are the benefits that they should receive as part of this policy? But I can also handle here exceptions. And let's say that I also want to authorize a tax briefing for that employee. I can just activate it here. I can also select additional services, provide the information, and finally initiate that employee into the platform. And then once an employee has already been initiated, I can go and let's say I'm going to look into Susan, into her profile, and I can immediately get a dashboard of what's happening with Susan's assignment. I can see her key dates and where she is, the location she's going to, her key information such as passport and dependence information, home country to destination. And if I need to update any of that information, I can easily just do it here and change that data. And I can even see the status of delivery by the vendors. And now, after I had my first look, if I want to a little bit deep dive more into that, so Julia, you mentioned documents before. One of the areas that are important here around document management. So I can have all my documents in a single place, and the documents can come here from HR and mobility team. They can come from the vendors providing documents or receiving documents, and the employee can upload documents. And I have in one place all the documents. If I need, I can download. If I need, I can give access to another person to have access to that document in a secure way. And I can set expiry date, so I get alerts when, for example, the certificate of coverage is likely to expire, and we'll see some of that more.
And that answers the question that came in. It says LinkedIn user here, but it's Michael Burnett actually on LinkedIn, who said, will your integration include document sharing or just the raw data? And the answer is absolutely, it includes document sharing as well.
Yeah.
There's some good questions coming in. Charlotte Walter has asked a really good question, and Andy Conduit Turner. So Charlotte's saying, that some of the data is quite sensitive, say immigration, can be quite sensitive, just some personal information. So how would you restrict it if you wanted to restrict it?
Yes, so there is a problem with data privacy in our industry, and we are tackling and we are fixing that problem. At the moment, too much information is shared through insecure method, whether it's a spreadsheet or an email. Initiations cannot happen by email. Every time we make an initiation by email, we are violating data privacy rules, and that's why we build dedicated, protected platforms for the vendors that can integrate, like in the case with Fragoman, fully integrate to the Fragoman tools through a secure way, or in other ways can give access to the vendors all compliance with GDPR and the most strict data privacy regulation to make sure that data is managed in the right way. And I encourage everyone on this call, please don't initiate by email and share information like that. We see that too often, and it's just wrong to do it like this.
Okay. We'll just take a couple of other questions, Nitzan, then we'll go back to...
Sounds good.
The first one, actually, it's on screen already, is from Susan Ginsburg. How often will the system have to be updated to ensure local, regional, and global compliance?
The system is being updated all the time, right? So whether it's through APIs, they run all the time, or through the use of the platform every time a vendor use, of employee use, the data is updated here. Updates are happening all the time.
Okay, and then the other question that came through, I just want to pick up, is from Alketa, and the question is the platform allowing for cost estimate generation, or is that done outside of this platform?
Both, we support both options. So if there is a third-party cost estimation, we can do that. We can also integrate and provide that as part of the platform experience. So that's kind of the basics that we say that are covered. Yes, it is possible to run cost estimations on the platform.
Okay, and we'll just carry on with the demo for a bit. I know one point you wanted to cover off is there's really three angles to this. I mean, from a Benivo perspective, there's assignment management, there's the fintech solution, and there's digital destinations. And in a way, you can look at it and say, if you want the digital destinations and the fintech, then you get the assignment management for free, effectively, because it's part of there. But I mean, do you just want to talk about how those three things pull together, and then maybe let's go back to to some of the stuff around the demo?
Yeah, so there are really three areas where we add value in Benivo. Digital destination, covering all the areas of destination support with the Amazon-like experience that we've showed on previous shows. There is the fintech, the delivery of payments, either to third party, to employees, or through Pay Later, which is our award-winning product of providing cash advance, repayable cash advance to employees. And now what we are adding to that is, in addition, included at the same license fee per employee, also the assignment management tool. So it's not that we've stopped doing what we've done before. We continue to do that. We get a lot of traction here, and now we are adding more value by doing more things. Let's have a look at how vendors initiation is happening on the platform. So I can see which vendors have already been initiated and the status of each of these vendors. For example, I can see here a service by going there. I can see here that I'm now at this employee now is at stage 3. Introduction call, I can see some information, I can see what are the next steps, I can get an estimation, how long each step take, and what is going to happen in that. And the same experience, actually even a bit even more visual, exists on the employee side. So that we will see on the next show, how as the employee or the mobility manager, I can see live status of delivery across all my vendors. And that allows us to unlock a lot of data that I will show in a minute. I just want to show here a few more. I can add here now, let's say I want to initiate also travel. I can just do that and add another service, whether it's an exception or part of what we want to offer to that employee. And if I want, I can even go into document signing, whether it's an assignment letter or any other doc. I'm only being asked here for 2 fields to add to this assignment letter. Why? Because all the information was already provided before, and the system automatically identifies which fields are missing. I just need to add these 2 information. I click submit. That will generate on the employee platform immediately a document for signature via DocuSign, so they can sign it from their mobile. And once the employee is signing the document, I get it here on my document sections with all the alerts. Let's have a look at some of the data and how we use all this information that is on the platform to really deliver insights and value add. We'll start with demographics, with one of the more daily activities, right? One of the things that Michelle shared with us in the past that was taking time was when there is a request for a report, right? So let's say the business unit of of retail is asking me what's going on with our people on assignment. I can just filter it, and immediately I can see I have 3 active assignments, 1 canceled assignment. I get live alerts knowing 2 of these assignments are going to end in the next 9 months.
And this can be personalized as the client wants.
Exactly, yes.
And,
these
and
alerts
are at no cost. There's no cost for the actual personalization here.
Correct. I can see all the passports are in place. There is 1 visa that is about to expire. Yes, often it's the employee responsibility, but as the mobility manager, I'm now in control. I can decide when I want to be proactive. I can see that something is wrong here with the tax return, right? Because 4 of employees in this team has been overdue, and I can actually take an action. And I can see here immediately all the data. So if I need to export a spreadsheet or send the information like that, I can do it. Alternatively, I can give access to that HR BP of the business unit to see only information related to their employees on their dedicated platform. And the information here can be filtered, and we'll see that all over the platform by any way we want, right? It can be by home country or by host country. It can be by the assignment status or assignment type. Really any way I want, even get to the individual person and the individual in the individual move. So that's a little bit about demographics. Next, I can go into the documents dashboard and see what's going on with the documents that I need to collect from employees. I can see what percentage of documentation has been signed, how many have been uploaded, not uploaded. Again, I have my real-time alerts, and that's one big differentiator that we are introducing here. All the information is real-time, meaning that I don't need to wait for a quarterly review or an annually report. All the information is live. I see immediately I have 9 assignment letters which are not signed. I can click and I can see who are these assignees who have yet to sign their assignment letter, and immediately take actions about them.
Just to make sure I understand it, so you don't have to approach a third party to say what's the situation. Like I said, to use that example we used before about Michelle, sorry to bring Michelle into it on the beach in Florida, but if she wants to look at something at 11 o'clock at night, so I'm not sure why you're on the beach at 11 o'clock at night, but if you want to look at something at some point, you can just pull it out in real time and actually get that information. So Michelle, that's presumably something that would be pretty useful to you, even though we've just ruined your evening.
It's okay. Well, I've been on the beach all day, and now I have to work at 11 o'clock.
That's what it was. Okay.
and let's say even if you don't want, right, because you also deserve not to work at 11, you can just create a view for the business, and they can access the information that is only relevant for them. So they don't even need to ask you these questions, and they can access all of that themselves, not only through a spreadsheet, but also through a dedicated platform which sets the right level of permissions to make sure the information is relevant for them.
Linda Smeets had asked just that very question. How can you share this report with the business? Is it only via a spreadsheet or through those nice visuals? And so to your point, with the prior access, the business can go in and see it.
All right.
Another quick technical question whilst we're moving on. What platform is this software created on?
Yeah, I mean, the technology is it's the Benivo technology. We use Microsoft technologies for most of our development, but that's all handwritten code. It's not that we took an existing tool and customized that. This is really built from scratch.
Yeah, I should say we are a technology company, and we've got a large team of technology developers, and that's all they do day in, day out. And one of the things I always like to emphasize is we're not an RMC. We are a technology company, and that's what, I don't. I'm useless with technology, but that's what the technologist people do.
All right.
What about the company question from Zoe Cuthbert says, where is the server located which holds the data, or do you have a choice?
you have a choice, right? So we use Microsoft Azure servers as default in Europe, in Ireland, because that's the most strict one in terms of data privacy and data security. But if there is a need to host it else, that's part of the benefits of using a cloud storage.
Okay, so let's move on a bit with the demo.
Let's look into vendor management. One of the most time-consuming and also important for the delivery of the business needs and employee experience, seeing what's happening with our vendors and how we can use data, especially predictive analytics. I saw nice comments before about the overuse of big data and predictive analytics. What predictive analytics mean is the ability to forecast what will happen in the future based on data or previous recent events, right? And I'll give examples how we make that use. In this example, now we're going to look into the management of the immigration process. And again, I can filter that by home country, host country, the type of immigration if I use more than one, and see what's the data. And I can see here on average, each application takes us 112 days. At the moment, we have 150 live. We had 150 applications, with 18 of them are live at the moment. How many days? And next, I can see the different stages, right? So let's say there are 6 stages for my immigration progress. On each of these stages, what I can see is step 1 here. For example, being in contact with the employee. How many days does it take on average? And I compare it to the SLA that the vendor has committed to and immediately see are they delivering or not. And I get real-time alerts for cases that are taking longer than the SLA. So if we would expect this process to take 3 days, but now I can click here and see who are those 5 people that haven't been contacted, right? And in each step of the progress, again, I can identify that information and be proactive about it in order to make sure that the delivery is where I expect it to be. And that's what allows to happen is that we can identify issues even before there is an escalation. Even before the employee or the business know that there is a problem, these live dashboards tell us what is taking longer than we expect. In addition, I can analyze acceptance rate, right? What percentage of employees their application was approved, was canceled, pending, and I can see by country or for region. I can compare if I have more than one immigration provider, I can compare which one of them is getting higher acceptance rates in specific countries, and then know which one to choose when I need to engage one. I can look at how long each person is taking, how many days, that's what we see in blue, how many days are they in the process, and in red, I see what does the system expect their application, their immigration process to take. So that's the predictive analytic bit. And how can the system forecast how long it will take? It uses data based on previous applications. So we know the country of origin and the type of visa they uploaded, and using all that information in order to predict how long it will take, and then we can compare it and again provide that additional information. More and more reporting are here, but I'm not going to get into that. I'm going to, looking at time, I'm going to move to the next section, which is very important, payroll reporting and compensation analysis. So some of the areas we are going to cover here are around collecting the information from all the sources of cost, whether it's a vendor cost, whether it's an employee reimbursement, whether it's salary. We bring them all automatically into a single place to be able to create live reports and live analysis at any given time, where I can see how much is the spend per employee. I can see based on the forecast what is the actual or as well as their average spending, who is spending more, who is spending less. I can see what areas are we spending on, what percentage goes into shipping, what percentage goes into other areas of spend on a monthly breakdown. I can see each month how much the information is spent. Again, everything can be further customized based on what the company want to see. Similarly, more information can be looked into how exceptions are being handled, and what is the approval, who is approving exceptions, what are we spending, where are we spending money on exceptions, etc. So I have here all that information as well in a single place, with the ability to identify anything by home country, by host country billing, really into any level.
That's a huge area. I'm sure Michelle will agree.
Yes.
For any mobility manager to be able to manage the exceptions, because the exceptions are always the problem cases.
Exceptions run across everything, even immigration. You know, some departments might be supporting permanent residents, others might not be. It's a very, very useful, transparent reporting. This is really good.
Yeah. The compensation piece, not only the exceptions are big, but the compensation, having consolidated information in one place is a huge benefit.
All right, a lot more to show, but not a lot of time left. So I'm going to cover some payroll reporting, so we can create any format of report that needs to be provided for payroll in any way that needs to be done. There is a lot of feedback that it can be shown about what employees are experiencing. And again, that doesn't need to wait for this long end of service survey. These are pulse surveys that they can answer from their phone, mobile phone, on the app as they go. It's a one question, it's never long, and based on that to really understand when there are issues that can still be solved while the issue is in progress, rather than, you know, after that understanding what went wrong. I'll show one last dashboard, and I think then we'll need to wrap up and continue in the next show. This one is about the key actions completion. So what do I see here is an overview around my employees. I can focus on a policy, on a business unit, or on an employee level, and see around 7 key actions that I've defined for these employees. What is the status, right? So what has been completed, what is in progress, what they haven't started, who is behind, who is ahead of the curve, and we give access for this also for the RMCs and the service providers. So basically, when they contact the employee, they don't need just to ask, hey, how is your relocation going? But instead, I can tell them, oh, I've noticed you haven't opened a bank account. 70% of your colleagues have done it already. Is there something I can help you? Right, and that's, again, using the power of data to be more efficient, be proactive, and add value, rather than go through the routine services that should be done by technology.
Okay, Nitzan, that's just amazing. I'll just take the demo off there. I mean, I know the audience have gone sort of, you know, there's loads and loads of questions that we haven't dealt with. Hopefully we've dealt with most of them. This is really groundbreaking new technology, which I think is really going to help shape our industry going forward. I also know we're going to be coming back in 2 weeks' time, and we're going to be showing a lot more. There was too much to show in an hour, and I think people have only got limited attention spans too. And we had so much to cover. If anybody out there in LinkedIn world has got specific questions or would like to find out more about it, then just message Nitzan or myself, and we'll, you know, arrange to talk to you and maybe show you a personalized demo if that's helpful to explain a bit more. But there is an awful lot out there that we're still to show, and I think it's for the first time bringing in the predictive analytics and that live real-time reporting that we talked about. So it's taking spreadsheets and existing technology to a whole new level, and using this cloud-based technology that means it can be implemented within days and at no cost. So we could spend hours talking about this, but we can't, because we always try and finish spot on the top of the hour. But we will be back in 2 weeks' time to talk about it more. And as I said, if anybody wants further information, then just LinkedIn message us or email us, and we'll get back to you. We also integrate with RMCs, by the way. So if you're there from an RMC perspective and you want to find out how you can integrate or piggyback off it, again, let us know. lastly, all that remains is for me to thank Michelle for being on the show and being with us again, and Julia, as ever, it's a pleasure to see you in your Dubai hotel room. And Nitzan, great demo. Really appreciate it. So take care, and we'll see you. Remember, The View from the Top is back next week with Chris Blair, and you can learn how he went from being, in fact, in a band, then to the Salvation Army, then into global mobility. And if that's not an unusual route into our industry, then I don't know what is. Take care, everybody. See you all next week.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.